Medical professionals of Reddit, have you ever had a patient so lacking in common sense you wondered how they made it this far? If so, what is your story? I'm a vet. A few years ago I had a client bring his young cat in complaining of lethargy. Besides being a bit underweight, the physical exam was unremarkable, so I asked more questions about the cat's diet. Me, what do you feed the cat? Owner, online trendy raw food brand. Me, how is his appetite? Does he finish what you feed him? Owner, yes, he always eats everything. Me, how much do you feed him? Owner, 12 cup. Me, once or twice daily? Owner, once every 3 or 4 days. Me, you only feed your cat twice a week? Owner, I believe in a more natural feeding approach, and based on my research that's how often cats eat in the wild. This owner was slowly starving his cat to death based on some cockamamie idea he'd made up watching National Geographic. I had to explain to him that domestic cats are not tigers, and that small wild cats eat 10 to 20 small meals daily. Surprise, surprise, the cat's lethargy and weight improved with regular feeding. Thank God there's a happy ending. I'm in the So many stories. The one that left me dumbfounded was a woman was brought in by her sister for pelvic cramps, amenorrhea for 3 months. Lo and behold, she's pregnant. Sister informs me that she sleeps with the Brazilian construction workers building the condo complex next door. I ask if they have any questions. The patient asked me if her baby would come out speaking Spanish. After a long pause, and her sister staring at the ceiling, I told her, no, because they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Patient seemed relieved and the sister hustled her out of the before I could discharge her. Because they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Oh my God, to be a fly in that room must be epic. I used to be a medical oxygen tech, mostly doing in-home work. One guy was on such a high concentration that he would have drawn nearly zero oxygen from breathing regular atmosphere. This required 2 heavy-duty machines hooked up in tandem just to keep him barely alive. This was explained ad nauseum to him and his wife with full signed documentation of every conversation. They'd shut one machine off because they decided it was too loud. He'd take his mask off because he decided it was too cold. She would unplug the hose if she decided it was in the way. So on and so on, literally everything you could think of that would restrict or cut off his oxygen intake. Then they would panic and call our emergency service when he started to have a reaction to no oxygen intake. I lived not even 5 minutes away, right beside Out Ems fire station, and the call would always come to me to fix the machines at random times of the day and night, 3 to 7 days a week. They refused to call 911 because they didn't want to make a scene. This went on for ages, well over 18 months, until he was having trouble sleeping one night and shut the machines off before going back to bed. It's been years and I still see the wife around town. She always glares at me as if I'm the one who killed him. Christ, I fix medical equipment, and the amount of shit that happens because it's in the way or otherwise inconvenient is exactly why I drink at night. I work in a totally different field with drying equipment for floods, and the amount of people who shut the fans off due to noise then call to complain why it's taking so long is a normal occurrence. Saw a chart once where a person came in for a burn to their eye. They told the doctor they read online that warm milk in the eye can help with irritation and their eyes were irritated. So they boiled milk and then poured it in their eye. Burned it all. Reminds me of that tweet. Someone went to their optometrist and he said you can put some boiled water in your eye to rinse it. Look at me. Look at me. Let the water cool down first after you boil it, like he knew that they dump a rolling boil right into their cornea without very explicit instructions. There's something poetic about an optometrist yelling with increasing intensity, "Look at me," while trying to help someone with eye problems. Rural doc here. 35-year-old female walks in with right-sided jaw neck swelling. I think it happened because I ate some meat yesterday that my body is reacting to 10 minutes later. Oh yeah, and I accidentally swallowed a bee and it stung me in my mouth right before this happened. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. A friend of my mother's died from a wasp that got into his drink. He swallowed it, it stung him on its way down, and despite having no allergy to stings, the swelling was enough to close off his airway. Okay, new fear unlocked. I am already paranoid about bugs going into a drink can and I won't drink anything I left unattended a while, but that's just awful. Edit, tons of replies. Just want to say I'm even more horrified now. This is not as rare as I thought. Optometrist here. If I had a nickel for every time someone said they use urine for eye drops, I would have 10 cents. Which is not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Once is weird enough, but twice? What the hell? Wouldn't that sting? Had a patient come in for facial burns because he smoked while wearing his oxygen, twice, in the same week. Just had a man died of this in March. Wabi.tv. He had burned down his home the day prior and then proceeded to burn down his friend's home and die. Thankfully the friend survived. That guy ruined his friend as well. What an ass. Not me but my wife, who is a vet, had a client who got mad at her because he didn't realize that once he neutered his dog that he wouldn't be able to breed it. As someone who worked at a vet office, I am completely unsurprised. We once had to explain what smegma was to very embarrassed owners of a new puppy who brought him in for discharge around his penis. Not to mention the countless people who bring their cats in asking about a lump only to be told it's a nipple, and then you occasionally get the inevitable "but he's a boy," and have to explain that male mammals have nipples too. Like, ma'am, you are married. Have you never noticed your husband has nipples before? I miss working there. I'm just happy these people bring their pets in for medical care, even if it was nothing. Better than the opposite, which I think there are more of. Frown. This happened in med school on my obgyn rotation. Patient: who's the baby gonna look like? Me: what do you mean? Patient: well, is it gonna look like the dude who got me pregnant or the guy who's been nutting in me the last few months? Me: utterly speechless. The baby should look like the people who conceived it. This person is now a parent. Edit: fixed a typo. Nutting in me the last few months, ha 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 ha. Lady brings her baby into the ER with a rectal temp of 103. Kid's ticky as hell and looks like shit. Refuses all medications. Says she doesn't believe in them and wonders why her herbal tea, she brought a jug of it, isn't working. Wants us to just check her out. Thinks a children's emergency room just checks them out. Try to explain why the kid needs an Nziad. Keeps refusing. Says she doesn't know what's in it. I bring up that fact she had her kid in a hospital, and that she recovered medication herself, epidural, etc. Doesn't budge. Only concerned for herself, told her that when the kid has a seizure or goes unresponsive and you call 911, you can expect the medics to give the kid everything it needs regardless of whether you like it or not. Only when the doc threatened to contact social services for child endangerment and abuse did she start to listen. For like 5 whole seconds. Left against medical advice. People like this exist and breed. People like this exist and breed. I was in ed billing at the time, so only saw the chart, not the patient, but interesting diagnosis code combo of vomiting blood and broken ribs made me actually read the chart instead of continuing on autopilot. Kenyo kid, I forget, swallowed his toothpaste instead of spitting. Mom freaked out and gave him the Heimlich so hard she cracked a rib and kept going until she finally took him to the ER when there started being blood in the puke. I still know I would have made a shitty parent, but damn. Holy shit. I feel so sorry for children who have no agency and must live like that. I get freaking out as a mother when you're worried about your child, but swallowing some toothpaste? And the ducking Heimlich? That's not even what the Heimlich is for. Poor child. Sounds like a cover story for child abuse TBH. So, you're lactose intolerant? Yes, and you knew this before? Yes, and you drank a milkshake? Yes, what size? Large. The rest of the night was the kid screaming and groaning in the ed waiting room. YOLO, lactose intolerant milkshake enjoyer. Had an adult male patient who needed a Foley catheter. His mother was in the room, and they both lived together in the backwoods of TN. I informed them both of the order for a catheter, how it works, and why it was needed. His mother stated, well, has still a virgin and am not sure I'm comfortable with his virginity being taken in a hospital. I hope that was just a joke. Hell, I'd tell that joke. I wish it was had to have a delicate conversation with this woman to explain that I was not taking her son's virginity. My sister told me a story of a woman with chronic blisters and lesions on her lips. They couldn't figure out what it was for weeks. It would heal and come back. Heal and come back. Turns out she would jam out on like 3 bags of salt and vinegar chip a day for weeks at a time until the sores hurt too bad to continue, then she'd go to the doctor. I eat SV chips till my tongue is numb, and I thought I was weird for that until now. I wasn't aware there was any other way to eat them.